We bought a 2001 Dodge Viper RT10. We're gonna be putting an 800 horsepower Hellcat Redeye engine swap in it. But first we gotta get this V10 out, so let's get started.
We have a huge crate, a smaller one here, and then we have another box up front. Hopefully this will hold everything in place. Everything is completely loaded. Thank you so much, everybody at DCH of Temecula. I really appreciate you guys. You guys took care of me right away the second I came in. They were like, yep, we're ready for you. Bring the truck out back. They loaded it up super quickly. And here we go, we're ready to go. And yeah, let's go to the shop and show the boys.
What we got, bud? What is it?
We got a Ricky with a truck with a big crate in the back, full of really good stuff. Best stuff. Yeah, let's go. Yeah.
What you got in here, bud?
A lot of heavy stuff. We have a transmission and we have an engine.
Right here, complete engine. Right there. What is going on, guys? Welcome back to the Throttle YouTube channel. My name is Quinn, and today we're kicking off our next big build. So we have a 2001 Dodge Viper with an 8-liter V10 in it. We have a Hellcat Redeye Hellcat engine, T56 Magnum transmission. Put that all together, and we're gonna get one fast Viper. So we've been invited back out to Motor Trend Presents Roadkill Nights powered by Dodge, and we're packing a punch this year. We're gonna be bringing this thing with a cat swap in it. There's gonna be a lot of fun, and Ricky is gonna have his hands full driving this car. You better be ready, kid.
I'm ready right now, let's go!
Are you? You get up here, bro. Tell me.
I'm ready, baby. We're gonna get this thing in there tomorrow. Well, maybe it's gonna be. Tomorrow we're gonna take the engine out, and then we're gonna start mocking that thing in there. It's gonna be interesting. I've never seen anybody try to do this.
It is gonna be a very interesting swap. However, people are dropping these in Miatas. So it's gotta be doable.
Yeah,
it's pretty much just a long Miata. Longer, wider Miata with a lot more power, but
it's definitely going to be exciting.
Anyway, it's going to be a lot of fun. The first step is actually to get the V10 out of that, and then we can start playing with our new cat motor over there, which I'm very excited to play with. So let's get this thing up on the rack and start playing with it.
Let's do it, baby.
If you haven't done so already, make sure to subscribe to the Throttle YouTube channel and turn on the bell notifications so you don't miss an episode.
First order of business is to get this freaking clamshell out of here. This thing is way too in my face already. We haven't even started working on this thing yet, so let's get this thing off. Let's take a look under the Viper. This is the first time any of us have been under the car. I don't know how complicated or simple the undercarriage is, and I think it's going to be a big determining factor on whether or not this swap is super easy or difficult. So this car already has a T56 Magnum transmission in it, which is the same one that we have over there. So hopefully things like the drive shaft, the transmission mount, the shifter, all that stuff should be the same. It'll make that section of the swap very easy, but I don't know, we'll find out.
Look at the freaking axles. They're like drive shafts.
So these are U-jointed instead of CV or constant velocities. Some Corvettes do this too. I don't know if the newer Corvettes are doing this or if our C6 is like this. U-joints are freaking buff, man. They're way beefier than a CV axle setup would be. And therefore they're stronger, which is a good thing because we're pretty much doubling the power that this car outputs.
Quinn, you want to take the wheelie bar off?
The wheelie bar, this? That's the reverse wheelie bar.
Oh, reverse wheelie bar.
Yeah.
What'd you just check? What level was that? Coolant?
I wanted to see if it was gonna boil over. I'm gonna take this whole fender liner, this whole fender well is coming off. So I'm gonna take it off, but I gotta take the coolant reservoir before, and I wanted to make sure that it wasn't gonna explode when I took it off.
What about this sweet thing just hanging out here? It's like a diagnostic port or something.
I don't know.
Oh yeah, what about this one?
This is a fender washer lopped in half to make it fit. That's the kind of
I got
junk.
one here too.
Atta boy.
Man, we're just coming up with gems everywhere.
This is the whole thing. Holy crap.
Is it really?
This is attached to this, which is attached to the other one. It looks like.
Yeah. So, yeah, it all just sits on this.
There goes another washer.
Crap. I'm gonna take this off here, take the liners out, and then we'll deal with this separately. We got a bunch of the stuff on the front end off. Now it's time to drain our fluids. We're gonna get the coolant drained. That way we can start disassembling all of our heat exchangers here and not have fluid everywhere.
All right, well, Quinn and I stayed late last night and got the whole front end of this Viper torn apart. And it's on the floor over there in a pile of parts. We wanted to get it ready this morning because we knew Greg was coming down. We knew Ricky and Will were gonna be in here. And we have all hands on deck to get this motor out so we can start taking measurements and start preparing the new Hellcat motor and transmission to go into this thing. So the nice thing is we've got a T56, which is what this car came with. We've got a little bit of variance in the bell housing. So we gotta figure out where that's gonna place the motor and how that affects our motor mount situation. But we're fairly confident that the motor is going to fit in the hole and we're going to have good placement because we've got 2 less cylinders, a shorter engine, and we've got a bit of a longer bell housing. So it's going to kind of even out a little bit. Pretty excited to get this thing out so we can see what we're dealing with going back in.
Further we get down the project, man, the more it was meant to be.
So you guys might remember Greg here. He was here with us last year when Aaron Kaufman was here helping with the Hellcat Challenger?
Challenger.
I don't even know what that car was anymore. It's been so long. But he's back again. He loves these type of projects, so it's always nice to have another set of hands around here to help out. Just be careful because it seems a little crunchy.
Yeah.
Broke? Yeah, that was it. Yeah, we don't need that anymore, I guess. Oh well. That's perfect. Keep doing that.
We're gonna use those.
Thanks, Greg. The plan of attack is kind of up in the air right now. We're working on the decision if we're going to pull the motor and the trans out, or if we're going to drop the trans first and then pull the motor out. So I think it's going to come down to how good of a grab we can get on the engine with the crane. Because the frame is kind of sitting really far forward, it's going to have a really long boom out on that stand. This is a heavy motor. I don't know if we can lift the trans and the motor on the setting that's going to allow us to reach out that far. That might not end up being too ideal for the engine crane, so you might end up dropping the transmission first and then pulling the motor out with the trans off. This
Let me see that.
abysmal
Let me see
setup.
that.
Up.
What we got here?
This thing is gonna load up like crazy, man.
What we got?
This
How
is
many
the-
how many extensions is this?
I should have brought mine. I have 2 3-foot long 3/8 extensions at home that I used to get E36 transmissions off, so you don't have to do this. Because this is not the answer, but
It is the
all we
answer
got.
right now.
So we just lowered the transmission, so we tilted it downward, and that allowed us to get to the last transmission bell housing bolt up top. So now we're gonna put the mount back on, bring the car down so Mickey can start working on the shifter. And then once the shifter's off, the transmission can come out. And once the transmission comes out, it's gonna be a lot easier to pull the engine out because we don't have to come back and down. It'll just be pretty much straight out and forward, which will be really nice. So this is our transmission jack, so we're gonna pull the transmission out right now, and then the motor's gonna come out second. Mickey and Greg did all the bell housing bolts, got them all off. Mickey got the shifter off, I got the slave off. We're gonna put the transmission jack up, take the mount off, and then just pop the trans right out, and then it'll come straight down, and we won't have a trans on the car anymore. As we're finding out, pulling the transmission out the bottom is not the way to do this, but we're too committed to go back. So we're gonna pull the bell housing out. The problem is the bell housing is too wide to fit between the frame rails of the transmission tunnel. We're gonna pull the bell housing off of the transmission, pull the transmission out, pull the bell housing out after that, and then we'll be free. So the transmission is out. That was a little bit more of a process than we thought it was going to be. Problem with it is look, the frame rails, they come in really tight, and that transmission was not designed to come out that way. So we actually had to take the bell housing out because the transmission pickup bolt on the block, if you look here, comes really far over the frame rail, and the starter actually sits in here. So the bell housing is much wider than the frame rails. Obviously this was not designed to come out that way. I'm definitely not gonna be doing that again, but now the transmission's out, we can get our motor out a lot easier. So let's take it down, hook it up to the engine hoist, and get this thing out. So this is going to be one of our first challenges to figure out. So the Viper came with a T56 Magnum manual transmission, as did our new kit. But T56 Magnum transmissions, for those of you guys who don't know, is one of the most prominent American manual transmissions. It's a really widely used transmission. So Ford, GM, Dodge, they all use T56 with different variations on it. So these are both T56 transmissions. As you guys can tell, we have a different bell housing for the Viper engine compared to the cat motor that they gave us, as well as the extension housing. So pretty much the only thing that's the same is the core here. You can add whatever housing you want on the front, whatever extension housing you want on the back, and you can also change the gearing. So it's a very diverse transmission. It's a very modular, that's the word, modular transmission setup. So our first challenge is gonna be figuring out how we can adapt this. So we might have to pull the back extension housing off and run it on our new T56 to make it work, but we're just gonna have to figure out, so that might be another thing if the drive shaft is not fitting. So we might have to use the spline that's in this one in our new ones. We might have to open that transmission up. So we'll see. This is gonna be the first challenge.
You like what you see?
Oh yeah, it's an easy day.
You just said it.
What? It's easy.
You can't say that, dude. That's like saying the goalie's gonna get
Drop
a
it in
shutout
there,
hockey
cut there,
game, and
cut
the
there,
next
move
shift,
it back,
fucking
move it
lets one
down, weld it in.
What'd you think, Greg? Was it easy?
Absolutely.
It was easy.
Absolutely.
Nice.
It'll be easy going in too.
So I was out for a week with COVID, and then when I came back, actually when I talked to you on the phone, this was a normal car. And now, no engine.
4:21 p.m. yesterday, we had it next to the Hellcat motor, shooting the
It's funny, it's kind of a shame. Like, I mean, I drove it a little bit, Mickey drove it a little bit. Quinn, did you even drive it?
I drove it
Yeah.
several times,
Okay.
and I told everyone who wants to drive it now before we rip it apart.
It'll never drive the same.
Vic went out.
Vic actually drove it,
Dude,
yeah.
Vic-
That's why the front bumper was all messed up already.
Yeah.
So how'd it go, Mick? What are your thoughts?
Oh man, it went actually way easier than I anticipated. I mean, I think this was sort of the easy part. Now it's the hard parts. The challenge is actually getting the motor and transmission back in here where we want it, not just in here. It's important that we put it where we need it and where we want it to distribute the weight properly and make sure that this thing's gonna hook up. We're gonna be limited a little bit, I think, with the bell housing, but just a wee bit bigger than the Viper bell housing. So it's pretty interesting. The Viper T56 actually has Viper stamps all over it. So it's definitely specific for this car, this platform. And then the transmission that Dodge sent us is actually like a Hellcat version. So the casing's the same as far as the cartridge goes, but everything else on the back and the front is different. So it's gonna be interesting to see how it fits in here and where it sits front to back. But this is the fun part for me. I love this stuff. I love making motor mounts and solving problems, essentially. So the nice thing is we haven't had many problems thrown at us yet, so hopefully it goes in smooth.
All right, guys, that's gonna be it for today's video. We got the Viper motor out. There were definitely a little bit of weird challenges we figured out. If I was to do this again, we would probably not pull the transmission out the bottom because that didn't work out too well. Aside from that, it's a pretty straightforward car. It's really cool that the entire front half from the cab forward completely blows off, which is a little different than the import cars we're used to working on, so really cool. This is gonna be a super fun project. In the next episode, we're gonna get our Hellcat motor in here. You guys saw when we were taking apart some of the challenges we're gonna be facing putting this engine and transmission package in this car and getting it bolted down. So stay tuned for that. Let me know down in the comments if you guys enjoyed this Viper content. I'm having a blast working on this thing, and I think the boys are as well. The next episode is gonna be a lot of fun because we're gonna get into fabbing and making all the stuff work. Don't forget to like and subscribe. See you guys in the next video.